day. So let me turn it over to Mr. O'Neill so we can get this thing started.
Absolutely. I just want to say I'm happy to be here today. It's been a long time being back on in the middle school. I work in a high school, a lot of big people. It's good to see some people of youth and some enthusiasm that are a little bit different than what you see in the high school. It's happy to be here. So again, my name is Mr. O'Neill. I'm a teacher at the high school. I was actually at the high school when Khalik Allah, I was at the high school, but he graduated from here. I want to say at least 1999. He walked these halls. He shot baskets at the gymnasium. He ate the same pizza. He understands what it was like to be back at Bellport Middle School. I must add this too. I want to be remiss if I don't add this. It's nice to have one of our own, like Mr. Watkins just said, to come back and share some thoughts about his experiences at the middle school and how he progressed to where he is today. However, before I do that, I'd be remiss if I don't give a shout out to, I just saw Superintendent Santana. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Colson. He's in the building today. Mr. Watkins, who was able to put this together for us. Mrs. Lynch, as well. And the entire Bellport Middle School Social Studies Department and their commitment to Generation Citizen Project. And a huge shout out to Mr. Pete and his class. I don't think he's here today, but I'll make sure I acknowledge him who's not here. Like I said, Mr. Khalik is here with us today. He's internationally known. He's known around the world. Person to my left. He's a renowned photographer. He's a renowned filmmaker. He's published books, directed films. His work has been shown at the museums around the globe. He spoke at the prestigious universities in the United States, including Harvard University, one of the hardest schools to get into America. It's a pleasure to have him here. I got a chance to see him at Rockefeller Center in New York City on a huge stage, maybe 3 times as big as this, in a packed house. So we're lucky to have one of our own, Mr. Khalik Allah. Please put your hands together for one of our own, Mr. Khalik Allah.
Every film I'm making is just a continuation of the next film. You know, I'm a photographer, so I come from that discipline of photography where there's an exposure following the following exposure, you know, on a roll of film. So when I make a film, yeah, I have to package it and say, okay, this is a single project, but in my mind, it's just one. You know, like Nas said, one love. That's all my films is, one love.
You see, when a woman gives birth to her child, that is very special, bringing one in this world. So man must respect that and bring up motherhood to be a better world.
A lot of the themes in Black Mother, even though it was kind of like a Christian language, it was really the 5% tradition all in it. You know what I'm saying? Referring to the woman as the earth. When I moved into the 5% Nation, that was around more age 14. If it's somebody that never really liked school, it helped me because I always liked knowledge. I just didn't like the form. You know what I'm saying? I focus on the picture, not the frame. I go beyond the form to the content. You know, when I look at a person, I'm not focused on the body. I'm focused on the light.
I love his pictures.
The 5%ers gave me that direction where it was like, empower yourself with knowledge. I always felt that I had potential and I just needed different people to spark me. So studying Cartier-Bresson, and then
Before we jump into some heavy topics, this theme today, I was told, is about racism. That's a very, very explosive topic to touch. We're going to do our very best to wrestle this topic and to give our thoughts about this very topic of racism we have today. Before we jump into some heavy questions, I want to ask Mr. Allah, can you tell our students here some of the celebrities that you work with and how many books you wrote and how many films you were able to direct in the countries in which you visited?
Okay. Well, first off, Bellport Middle School, Mr. O'Neill, all the faculty, thank you for having me. It's crazy to be back here, man. I was actually in this school longer than expected. I was here for 4 years because I got left back in 8th grade, you know what I'm saying? Word. So, I just wanted to get that out the way in case anybody's gonna have a similar experience. Hopefully not though. But yeah, you know, answering that question, I've worked with a lot of different celebrities. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, the Wu-Tang Clan was a big influence to me musically, and I got to work with them. I've got to work with, you know, top level celebrities like Beyonce, her sister Solange. I've done a number of films, and, you know, really, it just came from believing in myself more than anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was your age, I couldn't have imagined that life would turn out the way it did for me, especially when I was going through getting left back, and, you know, that could be a difficult thing. That could hurt your self-esteem as a child and just make you think that life is always going to be limited in some way or another. But I was able just to get to a point, you know what I'm saying, due to having good mentors like Mr. O'Neill when I was in high school, and other people just in the street to tell me, like, yo, believe in yourself. And then I just took that to the next level. So yeah, you know, I stand before you today, or I sit before you today, having been all over the world, having taught classes in Kosovo, you know, to little, you know, islands like Malta in the Mediterranean, you know what I'm saying, to obscure pieces of Italy like Sardinia and Corsica. So yeah, you know, it's been an honor and a pleasure to, like, be able to do that, and then now to return here today and share some of my experiences with you all. So,
as you sat in some of these seats where our students sit today, what are some of the memories that you can recall that you had walking these halls, sitting in these seats, as our middle schoolers do right now?
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you all, like, you know, I probably should have been sitting in the seats, but I was in the ISS room pretty often, you know what I'm saying? I remember Miss Eliza, she had arthritis, and she used to always scold me for not doing my work, you know? But yeah, you know, walking through these hallways again this morning is just like a flashback and a trip to through memory lane, because, you know, it was deep, man. Like, being in this school back in the 90s, the late 90s, you know, we used to be doing head spins in the hallway, you know what I'm saying? Me and some of my friends, we used to be wilding out, you know what I'm saying? We used to skateboard, we used to do 360 kick flips down the steps out there. So to come back after all these years is deep, man. But I just want to tell you all that you're just at the beginning of your journey. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be so much that occurs in your life, things you can't even imagine. So, you know, even though you're probably, 10, 11 to 12 years old, this is just the early beginning stages of your life. So, you know, believe in yourself and take it seriously. Still have fun, but just understand that, you know, life is what you make it. You know what I'm saying? I know that's kind of a cliche thing, but it's real. You know, you need to visualize, and what always helped me was having a notepad outside of the schoolwork, outside of, you know, the curriculum that I was, you know, being instructed to study. I was constantly in a legal pad, just writing out my visions of life and journaling. So, you know, even at your age, I was always journaling. And I really feel like that's something that really helped me to discover myself and to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and how to express myself as well.
Your story of growing up in Bellport is well documented. As you started to progress and push through, did you encounter any racism or adversity where you thought to yourself that people in the film, photography, or book industry did not accept you because of color or your background?
Yes, totally. I mean, I feel like, you know, there's subtle racism, there's all sorts of racism. You know what I'm saying? There's a lack of expectations, you know what I'm saying, that I felt that I experienced, you know what I mean? Sometimes, I mean, listen, all of that is real in the world, but you gotta understand that, you know, the only limit that you have are the limits that you accept for yourself. You know what I mean? And I've been in certain situations, like even joining the prestigious photography agency Magnum Photos that started off in Paris in 1947. This is like the top of the photo world, you know what I'm saying? But they only hired me in 2020 after George Floyd got murdered, basically to be a token, you know, basically to, like, fill a void because they didn't have so much diversity and they wanted to appear more inclusive. So certain things are just for the optics, you know what I mean? But for me, it's always been real, you know what I'm saying? You can't take a very deep artist and use them for a shallow purpose, you know what I'm saying? So really what it boils down to is self-knowledge, and you gotta know yourself, you know what I'm saying? And don't allow yourself just to be a pawn on the chessboard in somebody else's game, you know what I'm saying? You yourself are a king, and you gotta understand your position on the chessboard of life and move accordingly. So, there's all sorts of racism, there's all sorts of sexism, there's all sorts of, limitations that are put out there on people, but it's just a matter of knowing who you are and not settling and not falling victim, you know what I mean, to the limitations that other people may project. And this is very important,
Absolutely. We saw in your film slide a little while ago, you characterize and you take photos of people who are invisible sometime in our society. When by invisible, I mean people who are homeless, people who are poor, feel in poverty. Your films, your photographs give these people life, well documented. You've been around the world and you filmed the people who are less fortunate than others. After you interview some of these people, did you find that racism was part of their journey and why they're in the situation they're in today?
Most definitely, most definitely. I mean, you got the whole prison system, which is a continuation of racism, pretty much. A continuation of slavery, rather. The idea that the black man is something to be feared, and, he's just been criminalized all throughout the media. Not understanding that the black neighborhoods are the most, devastated neighborhoods, the most brutalized, communities. A lot of the people have just become desperate. My work as a photographer, it really started off in Eastern Harlem on 125th Street, which is, 125th and Lexington is probably the most drug-infested, community in New York City, and the most heavy police presence in one corner. And the purpose was to show the beauty, in the darkness, to show the light in the darkness, to show the beauty in a place that looks so ugly and to find the spark of light there, And that's really what the work has been predicated on. And I would say, the reason why that is it's like America. I mean, and black people in America really built this country, essentially. The free slave labor is what made this country a world power, and we can't deny that. I'm not saying that in any type of attack way towards any other, race of people, but it's just a matter of fact. So yeah, the entire system is twisted. You know what I mean? There's really no way around that. The only way around that is to focus on your personal life and try to develop yourself and grow into something despite all limitations that are out there. And really try to help your fellow man, try to help your brothers, that are struggling as well. And unify. There's a lot of reasons out there to separate and to divide and not to trust one another, and we're still dealing with that today. But, trust will solve all problems,
Looks like we got the attention of the majority of our students here today at Bellport Middle School. If they needed to start a conversation about race for any particular reason, how would you go about addressing that to students at Bellport Middle School of this age?
Well, the thing about race is it's like when you are a black student, one of the first things that you're taught about is that you were a slave. So right from the bat, your self-esteem is a little bit lower than the other students because you're not taught about Mansa Musa from Mali, which was the most richest African king, that was handing out bars of gold on his trip to Mecca. You're not taught about, the first people to smelt steel. You're not taught about the fact of the great contributions to science and mathematics that come from Africa, you know what I mean? We even spoken about Egypt as if it's something separate from Africa, you know what I mean? Where the original name of Egypt was Kemet, which means land of the blacks, you know what I'm saying? So really, the whole history, you know what I'm saying, of black history is not taught properly, you know what I'm saying? You're starting off from a position of slavery in America. So yeah, so I would say the first thing, again, just to flash back to my earliest statement, is knowledge of self. You need that more than anything. You need to know who you are, not just as an individual, but in the context of history. You got to understand the contributions to mathematics, to science, you know what I mean? You got to study Imhotep. You got to study, you know, like even, you know, Greek history. A lot of it is just plagiarized. Hippocrates wasn't really the father of medicine. He plagiarized a man named Imhotep, who predated him 2,000 years. You know what I'm saying? Pythagoras isn't the father of mathematics. You know what I'm saying? He had to fast for 40 days before he was allowed into Egypt to even learn a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You know what I'm saying? So there's just so much history that's lost. Entire libraries were burned, like the Library of Alexandria. A lot of stuff was just hidden so that you wouldn't know. But you gotta be a seeker, you know what I'm saying? When I was your age, I was becoming more of a seeker of the truth, you know what I mean? And again, this is not to, you know, to project any further racism on any other race or any type of hatred or animosity or anything like that, but it's just a matter of really figuring out who you are in the world historically and where you come from. Because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. And most of us don't know where we are, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't know where we came from, we're just totally confused. You know what I'm saying? So self-knowledge is most important, man. And, you know, even though you go to school, you need a library card. You need to go over to the library around the corner and just sit down and just pull books off the shelf and just sit down and read, even if it's not part of your curriculum. You know, that's what I did. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's what gave me the edge. You know what I'm saying? Having a library card and actually using it.
So you speak about books, and I'm sure all these students are here are well read. I'm sure the teachers at Bellport Middle School make sure that's a priority. If I ask this side of the room, or this side of the room in the middle, or this side of the room, how would you choose a book? I'm taking an educated guess. I'm thinking most students in here would say by how many pages in the book, or possibly the illustration, how many pictures are in the novel, or even maybe the title. When I choose a book, I look for a catchy title, if possible, that gains me interest into the book. You have a book that I bought about 6 years ago, and the title was very, very capturing. The name of this book was called Black Mother. And when I saw the title, it really jarred my mind to think about what's in this book, why did you choose this title, and what does this mother have to do about race, about being a female, having children? Was she filled with anxiety? Was she poverty-stricken? Because it's a catchy title and a very catchy illustration on the book. Why did you choose the title Black Mother for a title of the book? And tell us something about the book that maybe our students in Bellport Middle School would like to know.
Well, I gotta correct you a little bit, just slightly. Black Mother was the title of my film. Okay. The film that you came to see. Yes. But I do have a book called Souls Against the Concrete.
Yes.
But I chose that title for my film because I made this film in Jamaica. And my orientation to Jamaica is through my mother. My mother's Jamaican, you know what I'm saying? I actually became a Jamaican citizen myself while I was making that film. You know what I'm saying? Just to have a little exit strategy if I need to get out of here if things really get rough, you know what I'm saying? But it's rough over there too, very rough. But that title, Black Mother, it just represented the earth because, you know, a woman is very similar to the earth in nature, you know what I'm saying? They both produce life, you know what I mean? Earth is the third planet from the sun. It's 93 million miles away from the sun. You know, 9 and 3 is 12, you know what I'm saying? And 12 is 1 plus 2 is 3. I'm the third born, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of it had to do with something that I call supreme mathematics, but a lot of it also had to do with just understanding that you know, my umbilical cord, my connection to the land of Jamaica is through my mother. So that was the reason why I chose to name that film that. Plus that film deals with a lot of cultural themes. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jamaica is known for three main things. It's known for reggae, it's known for Rastafarianism, and it's known for marijuana. I didn't want to deal with any of those tropes in this film. You know, instead, it goes beneath the surface. It goes into the actual soil of the country itself, and I allow the people to speak and talk about their experience of being Jamaicans. You know what I'm saying? It also deals with the fact that that land has been colonized, and when a piece of land is colonized, in a way, it's almost like the land itself has been raped. You know what I'm saying? And to this day in Jamaica, you have a lot of, you know, prostitution for young women because they don't have a lot of choices. You know what I'm saying? As far as finding jobs. You know, Jamaica is a tourist economy. So most of the money is based off of, you know, people coming to visit the island and pay for things like hotels and, you know, tourist type of things. But the average citizens in Jamaica are still at the bottom of the barrel. Ever since, they gained their independence in the 60s, you know what I'm saying? They're still not free. Similar to Black Americans as well. So yeah, that title just felt appropriate, you know what I'm saying? When you see the film, if you want to see it, it's on DVD and Blu-ray at the library over here. And my book is in Bellport Library. Also, and even though I've been all over the world and done so many things, some of the greatest accomplishments for me are just having my book in the library over there. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the biggest accomplishments. It's one of the simplest things. But for me, I'm like, damn, you know, I always wanted to be in libraries. You know what I'm saying? Especially as a child, being in the library all the time. I hope I answered that.
Thoroughly. We know that racism is as old as our Constitution, our oldest nation of laws. What would you tell our students here at Bellport Middle School how to get rid of it, if possible, or how to slow it down? How would you address that?
Well, racism is really an ego device, you know what I'm saying? Because racism has to do with seeing yourself as separate from another person. And because you see yourself as separate from them, now you're locked into a mind state of comparison. And with that comparison, it breeds competition, it breeds the idea and separation and differences. So this whole world is predicated on the ego's thought system, which is lack and scarcity. Meaning that if you have, I don't have. If I have, you don't have, and therefore we gotta compete. And this goes against nature, because the natural state of affairs is abundance. You know, there's enough on this planet for everybody, for every race. You know what I'm saying? For every single person, there's enough here. You know, but we're locked into this competitive mind state, and it not only is manifest through the different races, it's manifest interpersonally between people, you know, for whatever little difference. So the real way to get rid of racism is to see your brother as yourself, to understand yourself, to know thyself, to know that I'm not just this one man, I'm everybody. On the level of the body, yeah, this is my physical form, and my name is Khalik, and I'm, you know, seemingly a separate identity. But the truth is, I'm everybody in this room. You're everybody in this room. You know, there's no separation. The mind is one. There's only one mind. You know, we all have many different brains, but the brain and the mind are not synonymous. You know, the brain is just another organ, like the heart, the lung, the liver, the kidneys. You know what I'm saying? The mind is beyond the body. The mind is everything. In fact, your body is just an idea within your mind. It seems to be opposite. So you got to understand that, you know, to give and to receive are one in truth. So, you know, what you give is what you receive. You know what I'm saying? If you give hatred, that's actually what you're asking for. If you show hatred, if you show fear, it's going to come back. Because it's impossible to think of another person in a certain way without also experiencing that same thinking for yourself. This is just simple metaphysics, but it's been lost because the purpose of the ego's thought system is to keep you believing that you're something that you're not, which is separate and different from your brother. In reality, we're all brothers, we're all family. You know what I mean? We're all part of the one sonship of, you know, as being the Christ, as being God's son. That's really what we all are. But we lost track of all of this because we're living in a world in which everybody is constantly seeking outside of themselves. They're seeking in the various forms of multiple different idols, such as money, cars, you know what I'm saying, things to basically prop up their ego a little bit more, you know what I mean? Which really stems from the idea of scarcity and lack. Essentially, man, I'm going kind of deep, but let me just simplify it and say, your function is not judgment. Don't betray yourself with judgment. Anytime you look at a person and you judge them and you condemn them, you're losing the knowledge of what you really are. You know what I'm saying? You're forgetting that you're not a body to begin with, you're spirit. That's your identity. And I don't mean this in any religious way. I mean it in the absolute sense. That's really what you are. You know what I mean? And as spirit, you know, you're part of God itself. So there's nothing to fear. You know what I'm saying? Racism is a form of fear, essentially.
Mr. Watkins, we have time for one more question, or we have to wrap? Ask one. So, if we took a poll in this room right now, I'm sure everybody's hand will go up if I say, do you like watching movies or TikTok? Oh yeah, put your hands up, let me see. Absolutely, absolutely. You can put your hands down. We know that Mr. Allah here has made several movies, but I do have a question for him that pertains to movies. I know of some people who are of color, of black filmmakers. Spike Lee comes to mind, John Singleton comes to mind, Tyler Perry comes to mind. But there's only a handful of people of color who are making films, who are making TikTok videos, who are making YouTube videos. You're one of the few people of color making films. Is it because of racism or lack of interest that we don't see more Latinos or minorities producing or creating film?
Well, I know a lot of, I mean, there's different film worlds, you know what I'm saying? You got popular films you may see at Island 16 that are blockbusters that are, you know, out there like that. Then you got the independent market. Then you got a lot of different film communities. But I'll say it's so important to tell our stories. You know, when I made Black Mother, I understood that there was nothing like it, you know what I mean? And again, I come from that era of hip hop when it was so important to be original and not to try to duplicate or copy somebody else's style. So, you know, all of us have unique stories to tell, you know what I mean? And that's what I was striving to do with that film. I understood the importance of it because of the lack of representation, you know what I'm saying? And that film was actually a hit in Jamaica. I mean, it went worldwide, but I was also very much interested in making sure that Jamaicans co-signed it and loved it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like, I played it in Kingston. And I remember being in an auditorium like this and thinking, damn, if they don't like it, I'm not gonna make it out of here. You know what I'm saying? You know, you Jamaicans don't play over here, man. You know, so it's, you know, basically, as far as Black people, we often think that we should only be in hip hop or in music, or we should only be over here doing something that we're already known for. But no, I always considered myself a visual MC. I wasn't able to rap. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, we used to be in ciphers. My friends would be rapping. I'd start rapping, they laugh at me. You know what I'm saying? Even though other people told me my voice sounds like a rapper, but I can't really rap. You know what I'm saying? I used to try to do graffiti. It wasn't that good. You know what I'm saying? So I had to find my own thing. And for me, it was a camera. My mother bought me a camera when I was 14. The same year I got left back in school, I begged my mother for a camera for some reason. You know, this is before your generation, obviously, so all of you have cameras in your cell phones. But back then, we didn't even have cell phones, you know what I'm saying, like this. At all, really. I'm talking about 98, you know, 99. So when I got this camera from my mom, that's when it clicked and I was like, oh, this is gonna be my thing, you know? I mean, I used to skateboard, but you know, I never really wanted to continue doing that for my life as a profession, you know. But when I got the camera, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start painting pictures with the camera, with images. And I was just collecting all sorts of material, all sorts of footage for 5 years until I went to community college and somebody introduced me to an editing program called Final Cut Pro. And they didn't even know how to use it, but they showed me the razor tool, how to cut a piece of video. And that's when I had an epiphany. that's when I realized that I could actually edit now, and then I began to teach myself how to edit. And one thing led to another, man, and I made a short film on my own. I knew some members of Wu-Tang, and I got the film in front of their eyes. Next thing you know, I was making music videos for them, and they were taking me on tour. And then things just developed from there. But really what it boiled down to is what I call having a by myself meeting. Oftentimes I would sit down at my desk, even as a child, and just meditate and think and be like, yo, what am I gonna do, man? Life is real, you know what I'm saying? What am I really trying to do with my life? And I would pull out my notepad and I would start scribbling things, illegible sentences, about what I wanted to do. But again, this came from a sense of desperation. Desperate not to be a failure, A lot of my friends, even when I was your age, they're not even alive anymore. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's deep, man.
Fantastic. Before we close, I want to make sure we address all of you. You guys were fantastic. I didn't see one cell phone. Everyone's attentive and very respectful. We want to thank you for that. Give yourself a round of applause.
Hey, wait, don't move. All right, listen up, everybody. If you are on this side, when the bell rings, you're going to exit through this door, right? Wait till the bell, when the bell rings, you exit through this door. If you're in the middle, you're going to exit through that back left door. If you are on the right side, my right side over here, you're going to exit through that door.